Battle for Iwo Jima is a new wargame by Yobowargames that was provided to me free of charge about 4 months ago. Sorry about that, Lens. It is a traditional wargame set on a hex grid and limits itself entirely to a single battle of the Second World War. Well, it is one of the most important battles of the Pacific campaign, the Battle of Iwo Jima. You know, the iconic image of the Second World War to emblazon it with the group of American soldiers raising a flag over the rubbles of the Japanese fortification on Mount Surubachi. Now that we have the setting aside, let's actually dive in how the game deals with it. First, you can only play on the side of the Americans and not the Japanese side. And while starting a new game, you receive a short animation of your GIs landing on the beaches. Then you are on track for victory, as there is no way back from here. You will need to survive the beachhead and move your troops inland to both capture your objectives and remove exposed troops from the unprotected beach susceptible to artillery. The game has a pretty rigid structure on how it plays out. First, the top right, you have all your objectives and the number of days to capture them. Failing to do so in time will lead you right into defeat. The rigidity continues with the days, as all but D-Day will have the same pattern roll call. Americans start by obtaining new reinforcement if available on that turn, then the Japanese artillery will strike your positions, then a round of support is granted to the Americans, followed by a round to move around. Then the Japanese are allowed to attack, followed by the American counterattack, and finally the Japanese launch a last attack at night. Which can cause them to use the feared Banzai attack, dealing higher damage than usual. Then we are back on track while advancing D-Day +1, and we repeat all the steps above. When the counter reaches D-Day +36, you lose on technicalities of being slower than reality. But let's talk about each phases in more detail. On the first turn you get kind of a nice animation of your troops landing, and there are other special cutscenes like the sinking of the Bismarck. No, not this one. This one. But these are short intermissions between regular rounds. The following round will always be the Japanese artillery striking, hitting your exposed troop, giving them damage and disorganization. The next phase is to grant support and to move around your troops, and you can move them around quite a bit as there is no limitation on the distance you can travel, as long as you don't get within 2 hexes of an enemy, because if you do, you'll be stopped to assess the situation as your enemy will open fire at you. But you will still be able to move your unit until you get adjacent to an enemy where you'll be forced to stop for the rest of the current move phase. The important part of the phase is to keep your divisions together, as if you move more than 5 hexes from your HQ, your unit will be unable to attack on its next turn. But before you can attack, the Japanese gets the first go, where all their units adjacent to one of yours will be able to open fire and damage your troops. Then it will finally be the American turn to attack. You can use all your units to attack a Japanese one that is next to them. The following phase is the night counterattack, where all the Japanese troops can attack again on the same day an American one that is adjacent to them. There is also a flare animation that plays during the sequence for each attack. Then we start all the phases once more. Covering all the phases twice gives me the opportunity to explain the issues with this game. The main one is how slow the gameplay is. For example, each night attack displays a flare animation of a few seconds for every attack every time. Moving troops around gives you a slow animation every time, and if you get attacked you again get a few seconds of animation every time. Attacking or defending again play an animation of a few seconds, and there is no way to turn off animations. And all animations are incredibly slow to roll out, making a round that should take maybe tops 2 minutes to complete take an eternal 8 or more minutes. On top of that, the Japanese forces get an interminable number of attacks compared to you, which is just frustrating. But outside of the slow pace, the gameplay is pretty solid. It's easy to grasp quickly what you need to know, and the clear-cut objective to accomplish add a sense of hurry to the game. There are a few more strategical aspects we have to take in consideration, such as keeping your troops within the HQ range and using armor vehicle in support of your infantry divisions, as if you engage them directly in combat, they're a bit too fragile to do so. But if they're near an infantry division that is engaging combat, they will still be able to grant full damage to them. In all, Battle for Iwo Jima is not a terrible game, except for the extreme snail pace that the game is going at, especially due to the forced animation we cannot avoid at any cost. And really thinking more about it, I don't see myself being able to recommend this game. The pace is atrociously slow, and the obnoxious number of times the enemy can attack to you compared to what you can do just drives the game over the edge of being unplayable for most part. The concept and ideas are great, and the game will be a great war games, but the two negative points I've brought up really drown down the game to a point where I don't conceptualize a way to have much fun when there are so many other war games to experience. And frankly, being a game dedicated to only a single battle of the Second World War do nail shut any possibility of recommendation, as once it is done, there is not much replay value, as you can't even play as the other side. I do hope that Yobowargame takes on a different approach on its next title and expand the scenarios while giving us option to skip all animation that are just dragging the game on and on. Hopefully you've enjoyed this quick review of Battle for Iwo Jima. As you can see, I've taken in the poll result to go ahead and review some war games for you guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.